There's a strange pattern you don't notice until you've lived it long enough. The people who seem the most careful with money, the ones who follow the rules, avoid obvious mistakes, and try to be responsible, often feel like they're moving the slowest. They're not reckless or lazy. They're usually doing exactly what they were told to do. And yet, year after year, the progress feels thin, fragile, easy to undo. That disconnect usually gets explained away as something personal. Not enough discipline, not enough ambition, not enough sacrifice yet. So the solution feels obvious, right? Just try harder. Work more hours. Be more reliable. Say yes more often. Delay things a little longer. Hard work feels like the safest bet because it feels moral. It protects your identity. If things aren't working, at least you can tell yourself you earned your place. You didn't cheat. You didn't rush. You did it the right way. But effort has a limit, and when you hit it, you feel it. You can increase your output and still have no control over pricing. You can improve your skills and still have no ownership. You can give more of your time and still have no leverage. Maybe you'll get a gold star as your reward if that makes you happy. And when progress depends entirely on effort, it doesn't compound, it just repeats. That's where most people quietly get stuck. Not because they stopped trying, but because they doubled down on the only lever they were ever taught to pull. So, when effort stops delivering, people don't question the system. They just tighten control. If working harder didn't move things forward, then at least being careful will keep things from falling apart, right? Spending gets scrutinized. Small pleasures get delayed. Just for now turns into a lifestyle. Saving feels like maturity after disappointment. It feels like responsibility stepping in where effort failed. You stop asking for more and start settling for less, quietly, rationally, responsibly. And saving does do something important. It creates a buffer. It keeps minor problems from becoming emergencies. But a buffer isn't progress. And confusing the two is exactly where momentum dies. Because while you're saving, nothing else slows down. Costs rise. Time passes. Opportunities don't wait for your comfort level. And the longer saving is treated as forward motion, the longer you stay in place. That's the uncomfortable part people avoid saying out loud. If saving alone created safety, people who've been saving for decades wouldn't still feel exposed. So the anxiety stays. You have more money in the account, but not more certainty. The numbers grow, but the pressure doesn't shrink. And eventually, saving starts to feel like stalling, like you're preparing for a future that never actually arrives. That's when the next right move enters the conversation. Not recklessness, not gambling, investing. Investing gets sold as the moment you finally graduate. You've worked hard, you've been careful. Now you're ready to be smart. And on the surface, it makes sense. Investing is framed as discipline with upside, the responsible next step. Proof that you understand how money really works. But investing isn't intelligence, it's exposure. Exposure to markets you don't control. Exposure to timing you can't predict. Exposure to risk that feels very different when you don't have margin. When someone invests without stability underneath them, every movement hits harder than it should. A dip isn't just a fluctuation, it feels like a personal mistake. A loss isn't abstract, it's rent money, time, energy. That pressure changes behavior. People panic. They overreact. They abandon plans at the worst possible moment, not because the strategy was wrong, but because the emotional cost was never priced in. This is why so many people quietly step away from investing and tell themselves it wasn't for them. Not because markets failed, but because they were pulled in before the ground under them was solid. And yet, the advice never slows down. Start early. Start now. Start with whatever you have. If you hesitate, you're falling behind. What never gets discussed is sequencing. Investing magnifies whatever position you're already in. If you're stable, it compounds. If you're fragile, it exposes that fragility faster. So when investing doesn't deliver the clarity or confidence people expected, it doesn't feel like a strategy issue. It feels like another personal shortcoming. By now, this is a pattern that should be hard to ignore. Hard work didn't create momentum. Saving didn't create safety. Investing didn't create confidence. Not because any of those things are useless, but because none of them work the way people think they do when they're followed in the wrong order. That's not a personal failure. It's structural. The system doesn't actually reward effort, patience, or responsibility on their own. It rewards position, leverage, timing, control. Hard workers keep output steady. Careful savers stabilize consumption. Underprepared investors provide liquidity. From the system's point of view, that's not a bug, it's the design. You're encouraged to work harder, save and invest early because the effort is predictable. Because participating matters more than actually being ready. If everyone else is doing it, you should too, right? What's never emphasized is sequence. Remember the word, because sequence creates independence. And independence is inefficient for a system that runs on predictability. So people internalize the failure instead. If working harder didn't work, they assume they didn't push enough. If saving didn't calm the anxiety, they assume they weren't disciplined enough. If investing felt overwhelming, they assume they weren't smart enough. But the rules were never neutral. They quietly cap upside while preserving stability for the system as a whole. And that's why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and still falling behind. And once that idea settles in, it reframes everything that came before. The frustration wasn't random. The anxiety wasn't personal. And the sense that you were always one step behind wasn't a failure of effort. It came from following rules that were presented as universal, but only worked within narrow boundaries. Rules that rewarded predictability more than progress. You did what you were supposed to do. You worked. You saved. You tried to be smart. And none of it failed loudly. It failed quietly. Just enough to keep you compliant. Just enough to keep you questioning yourself instead of the structure. That's why the discomfort lingered. Not because you were irresponsible, but because responsibility was never the same thing as leverage. And that leads to the question most people never stop to ask. If the rules you followed were never meant to let you catch up, what does that say about blindly following the next set? Because once you accept that possibility, the problem isn't motivation or discipline anymore. It's obedience. And you can't unsee that.